Welcome back. All right, we're going to talk about the Ottawa Senators today. I also have a board made up to discuss the Anaheim Ducks. Apologies. I will discuss a positive story at some point this weekend, but Ottawa's interesting to look at because the Sens, I've talked about this recently. We've seen some coaching changes. No coaching changes with Ottawa, but there are some within Ottawa Senators fandom that think that a change could and should be made there. So the Sens are currently 11 and 14. Now, the important thing to note is they have a bunch of games in hand on teams they're chasing, but when you look at points percentage, they're 27th in points percentage, and they're pretty far behind the teams they're trying to chase down here. This is an issue for Ottawa right now. So they were 10, 14, and 1 last season at this time. That also isn't encouraging. You're looking for the points to be getting a lot better, and right now they're 1 point ahead of last year's pace. Now, last year they got hot. But you can't count on that every year. You can't guarantee that Ottawa's just suddenly going to get hot and everything's going to be fine. The 2 seasons ago record was 8-16-1, which sounds absolutely awful, but that's 5 points off the pace they're at now. So yeah, it over the last 3 years has been a tough time for Sens fans. The problem with that is I could go further back than that and point out that they've had some lean years really since that run back in 2017. It's been tough for Sens fans. So December's been a rough month. This was a busy month. We knew this was the month if they were going to charge back and make the playoffs, they had to do it in December. Or at the very least, make it easier on themselves, right? So if you're of the mind it doesn't matter because St. Louis 2018, yada, yada, yada. All right, but you still don't want to have a crappy record once you're getting to around Christmas time, and we're getting there. So December 1st, they lose 4-2 at Columbus, and that's a game you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose the game against Columbus. Columbus is a team you should beat, even though you're on the road. They led 2-0 in the first in that game too, so that's a tough result. You lead 2-0, you lose 4-2 on the road against a team you should beat. December the 2nd, they win at home against Seattle 2-0. Great. Forsberg had 39 saves for the shutout in that. Goaltending, at times, has been a question mark for them, but it's looked good. At least in that game, it was good. And there have been periods where it's looked good for them, too. And then on December 5th, they win at home against the New York Rangers 6-2. Everything's great, right? So they led 2-0 after the first, and there really wasn't any doubt they were going to win that game. So great. You beat the Rangers, one of, if not the best team in the East. You're in good shape. Then on December 7th, they lost at home against Toronto. And because it's a Toronto game on the road, it sounded like it was being played in Toronto. I think Leaf fans on the road cheer for the Leafs more than Leaf fans at home. The booing for the Leafs doesn't seem to happen as much on the road. But yeah, 4-3, and it was 1-0 in favor of Ottawa after the first period in that game. So that's the tough part too. They led in that game as well. So that's 4 straight games where they had a lead, and they won 2 of them. And that's definitely problematic. December 9th, though, they win 5-1 at Detroit. So again, things are positive. You've won 3 out of 5. If you're, a Sens fan who believes they can turn this around, that helps. You've beaten Detroit. You've beaten the Rangers and Seattle. They led 4-1 after the second, and there really wasn't any doubt in the third. This was an authoritative win, and then they come home against Carolina. The Canes, having lost 4 straight games on the road trip, and they lost against Carolina 4-1. Even though they scored first. So again, they had a lead, they didn't keep it, and they lost the game. Then they go out on the road December 14th. They lost 4-2 against St. Louis. They trailed 3-0 in the second. They were never really in that game. And last night, they lost 5-4 in Dallas. Part of the reason for this video is last night's result. You might be getting this video even with last night's result if they'd won. But definitely the way they lose this game is notable. They led 2-0. They led 4-2. They also scored twice on Ottinger in 2 shots. Ottinger gets hurt, and they weren't able to take advantage. They weren't able to get to Wedgwood. Wedgwood saves 25 out of 27. Dallas gets the comeback victory, and it's another loss. So they've lost 4 out of 5 after winning the 2 of their first 3, or 3 of their first 5 if you want to put it that way. Then it gets all kind of messy. So the rest of the schedule this month is not easy, right? So tomorrow, they're on a road trip in Vegas. So they go from St. Louis to Dallas to Vegas, and then on Tuesday they're in Arizona, and on Thursday they're in Colorado. These aren't easy games. There's just nothing about this road trip that tells you, well, this is going to be easy, considering that from the 14th to the 21st, so you got 8 days and you got 5 games, and all of those teams are motivated to beat you. For St. Louis, it's been a rough start, but new coach. Dallas, good team. Vegas, contender, and they just lost against Buffalo last night, so they're going to be ornery. And then you got Arizona, who's been very up and down, but they're solid defensively, and they're good at getting goals when they need them. And Colorado, we know what Colorado is. They're a contending team. Then they come home, they play against Pittsburgh next Saturday. That's not really a gimme either. And then they go out on the road and they play Toronto on Wednesday the 27th. So you have the 3 days off for Christmas break. They play both before and right after the Christmas break. So they just have the 3 days off. On Friday the 29th, they're at home against the New Jersey Devils. And then on Sunday the 31st, they're at home against the Buffalo Sabres. So the picture for the Ottawa Senators, it's not a picture that's been great. And if you look at the leading scorers this month, there are a few players that stand out. First off, Drake Batherson, great performance. 8 games, 4 goals, 6 assists, 10 points. He had 2 goals last night. I thought he was really quite good for them. Claude Giroux, 8 games, 4 goals, 4 assists, 8 points. He's got over 1,000 points in his career. He's been around a long time. And Giroux still looks like he's going to be a point-per-game player for them through this season, and who knows, maybe into next year as well. Chychrun has 8 assists in 8 games. So Chychrun, who did go down the hallway to the Dallas locker room last night, that was for stitches, not because he wanted to be traded. Although I have to say, Chychrun in a Dallas jersey, I'd be okay with, just throwing that out there. Tarasenko, 7 games, 3 goals, 3 assists, 6 points. The interesting part is Tarasenko right now might be playing his best hockey as the Sen. And so this is where they're not taking advantage of the fact that he's been playing some pretty good hockey lately. Then you've got Stützle, 1 goal, 5 assists, 6 points in 8 games. You obviously want more than 1 goal this month from Stützle. Tkachuk, 3 goals, 2 assists, 5 points in 8 games. I've been very surprised by how quiet Tkachuk's been offensively. In fact, I've been surprised by how quiet both Tkachuks have been offensively. I had really expected Matthew Tkachuk to be in that 100-point range, and I thought Brady'd be right behind him, maybe 90 to 95 points this year. So I've been surprised. Josh Norris, 8 games, 3 goals, 1 assist, 4 points. 3 goals in 8 games is respectable, sure, but just the 4 points. He's just getting a point every other game. That's a 41-point pace over an 82-game schedule. It's just not getting it done. You've got Joseph, 8 games, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points. I know, yep. Detroit fans don't think he should be playing since that game against Detroit. Zub, 8 games, 4 assists for Artem Zub. Zub, of course, when he returned, we had expected the defense would get a lot better. And at times it has been, but yeah, it's just not consistent for Ottawa. And Brandstrom, 3 assists in 8 games. There's been lots of discussion about how long Brandstrom's going to be in Ottawa and all that. But then there's a couple that stand out. Jake Sanderson got off to a great start with that new contract. In 8 games this month, he has a goal and an assist. And you're going to have downbeats from young players. One thing is when you have those times where a player's not producing, you have to have the depth to absorb it. And for Ottawa, it just doesn't feel like that depth is there. And Ridley Gregg, 6 games since returning from injury, just the 1 assist so far. And I understand that Ridley Gregg may not be 100%. He may very well just be having some struggles getting back up to speed, sure. But Ottawa's not a team that is in a position where they can really be patient with that. They need to remedy that as soon as possible. And it gets kind of difficult. Now, for Steve Staios, I don't envy the job he has here. This is a team that needs to be fixed if this team's going to push towards the playoffs. Forsberg, 2-2 over this period of time. 908 save percentage, helped greatly by that 39 save shutout versus Seattle. Korpisalo's been 1-3 with an 884 save percentage. And maybe most alarmingly, their special teams have gone back into a realm that they were like 4 years ago. When I would do reviews of Ottawa games, I would just say Ottawa has a power play and it's killed off because it sucks. And I could just do that ad nauseum. And I'd never had to worry about, like, there were games that, or nights where there'd be a bunch of games on, Ottawa would get a power play and I go, they're not going to score, I don't need to watch that. And I was 95% of the time, it seemed, right during some of those really cold streaks. They need the power play to be dangerous. It's part of the reason why you're seeing lower stats from some of their higher tier players. They're just not getting any power play points. On the penalty kill, it's also not a pretty picture, 69.6%. So special teams are not helping, and when your special teams on both sides are not very good, teams aren't going to be scared of you. They're not going to be scared of taking a penalty, and they're not going to be scared of you taking one either. And your penalty kill, you've got a dangerous penalty. Nah, So their power play, no fear of that. Their penalty kill, no fear of that either. And 5-on-5. Their recent play has not been fantastic. And it's about that intensity. And yes, for people who want to say, well, they could make a coaching change, they could. It just doesn't feel like they want to. It feels like if they were going to, they probably would have already. So we'll see. And yet, now that I've said that, sure, maybe it happens as soon as I say that. And maybe we'll see the team turn it around from here. But this is a tough schedule. This road trip is brutal. Just the fact you go St. Louis, Dallas, Vegas, Arizona, and Colorado. That's not an easy road trip for anybody. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Do you believe the Sens can turn it around? And where does the blame go? Does it go on the former GM, Pierre Dorion? Does it go on the rest of us for expecting more from this team than they're going to accomplish? Or, another question for you, all these players that are on these long-term extensions, all these players who are young and they want to stick around in Ottawa, was that core that the team drafted and developed, was it overrated? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.